all hear me okay? Hi, I'm Candace Gallagher. I've been a singer all my life, but most of that was in the shower or the car, harmonizing with my favorite songs. In 2013, I decided at long last to follow my bliss, and I started taking performance enhancement lessons with John Ziegler, who for 30 years ran an Arizona band called Major Lingo. So John and I now perform as a duo at house concerts and private events, and I sit in from time to time with the Johnny Lingo Trio, who's performing tonight in Cottonwood. I first met Katie Lee in the fall of 2009. I had just arrived in Jerome from New Jersey to take the job of town manager there, and I attended the fire department's annual town picnic. Well, Katie and Joey were there, and Katie was, as usual, holding court. When I was introduced to her, she said,
"Take those sunglasses off and let me see your eyes."
I did as instructed, and her stunning blue eyes met mine. She studied me for a moment, and then she declared,
"Yeah, we're good."
and she flashed a smile. Well, that was the unforgettable beginning of a beautiful friendship. A few days before Katie died, she presented me with a necklace she had made for me, this one that I'm wearing. It includes the charms from a bracelet she had had since her 20s. And she explained each one to me. A snake.
Because I like snakes.
A pen.
Because I am a writer.
A ladder.
The ladder of success.
And a tiny silver charm engraved with the words,
"I will return."
In French. A gift, she said, from a lover.
Something to remember me by.
As if I needed help with that. Well, I was asked to share a few anecdotes about Katie, but fair warning, it's nearly impossible to do that in anything but an R-rated manner. But here's a couple. Shortly after I arrived in Jerome, I took part in a surprise 90th birthday party for Katie. Half the town, it seemed, gathered to parade past the big steps in the center of town where Katie would be brought on some ruse or another to sit. Well, the catch was, everyone parading was wearing fake boobs of some kind. And some were wearing their own. Topless. It was to commemorate a famous bike ride that Katie took through Jerome at the age of 77, naked, except for a helmet and boots. In the words of her close friend Diane Rappaport, she howled with laughter as she sailed the mile downhill from Main Street to her house. It was her way to shed the glum, sad feelings she had after a close Jerome friend died. Even before Katie reached her house, people who saw her started shaking the phone calls with their laughter. Did you see what Katie Lee just did? Katie says she's likely to be more famous for her ride than for her books and music. Well, Katie shrieked when she saw that parade coming her way, and she promptly stood up, turned around, and mooned everybody. A few years later, a musician friend of mine named Will Maring visited Jerome, and we arranged for her to perform at the Mexican restaurant in town. Katie was excited to hear this singer-songwriter, and she came to hear her along with several other locals. However, the restaurant was also busy with dinner guests who were more interested in their own conversations than in listening to the soft-voiced singer. Well, Katie was listening, or trying to, and she grew more and more frustrated. And finally, she leaped up, took the microphone, and yelled,
"Shut the fuck up!"
And she proceeded to lecture everyone in the place about having some respect for musicians. Needless to say, the place quieted down considerably after that, and Will fell in love with her instantly. One interesting thing that Katie and I shared was our respective friendships with a famous father and son, Woody and Arlo Guthrie. Arlo and I have been good friends for over 35 years. And when Katie found that out, she dug out a letter that Arlo's father, Woody, had written to her in 1950. I gave it to Arlo, and a year or two later, when his tour took him through Arizona, he spent a couple of nights in Jerome. I brought him over to meet Katie, and they hit it off immediately and reminisced for hours about mutual acquaintances in the folk music world. Katie knew the musicians that came and went during Arlo's childhood as he was growing up. When Cisco Houston's name came up, she actually blushed. And she said, "Oh, I knew him very well." And she had a sly little giggle. Well, that was an afternoon to remember, and I felt so lucky to be a fly on the wall there that day. One paragraph from Woody's letter to Katie stands out for me.
When you, as a spokesperson, get up and stand up, or keep your seat and sit down and tell them it's that way, well then you make their eyes see how it is, and you make their inner ear to hear it like it is. And of course they clap their hands and whoop and holler and bellow and rave and rankle and bang and clatter for you to come back, see, and stick around for a long time to heal their hearts by telling them how it looks to you.
Katie always told it like it was. She was always genuinely herself and without apology, and that was a gift to everybody. I'm so pleased to be a part of this production and to be able to honor Katie, sorry about that, in this way. Although I knew her for just a few years, she always will be an important part of my life and an inspiration.